Could we just quickly verify that that everybody can hear me? Anyone? Okay, got verification that that people can actually hear me now, so we'll actually get going. Welcome to a quick peek at building a digital marketing strategy, which is a day-long course offered by the folks at Eloquo.ca. And this morning, to hopefully pass a little bit of your boring time at home, we're going to take a look at what this course is all about in hopes that maybe you want to join us for one of the day-long courses sometime in the future. Eloquo teaches a number of different kinds of courses, all within the digital spectrum, of course, but primarily in Creative Suite with, the Adobe Creative Suite with all things Adobe, such as Photoshop, Illustrator, on the graphic side, or After Effects or Premiere Pro on the video side. We've also got courses on coding and, of course, courses on digital marketing. So my name is Jordan St. Jacques. I am the lead digital marketing instructor for Eloquo on all things digital marketing. And my credentials, I've been doing this for a long, long time. First person in the world to take a MySpace profile over 1 million friends back in 2004 when I had the privilege of working in the concert business for a company called Live Nation. And, over the years developed many, many digital marketing skills such as SEO, social media, email blast, text message marketing, mobile marketing, ASO, which is App Store optimization. The list just goes on and on. In more recent times, from 2016 to 2019, I was housed at Invest Ottawa here in Ottawa at Bayview Yards in the incubator there, and then later on moved up to the Carleton Lead to Win incubator. Currently, I'm a guest lecturer for Carleton's Technology and Innovation Management Program for digital marketing, and the owner of an agency called Digiterra, as well as a founder of a new startup influencer marketing tool called Crowdfluence, which is coming out sometime this spring. We were going to launch it this month, but obviously the virus affects everybody all across the board. It does not discriminate, and like the rest of you, I am stuck at home. So let's talk this morning about digital marketing. I'm going to go on till about noon, and then for the last 15 minutes, I would love to take questions and answer any questions that you might have for that last 15 minutes, and just hopefully shed some light on digital marketing for you. Maybe we can even solve a few of your problems today. If not, then I recommend taking the day-long course with Eloquo accordingly. Okay, so I guess before I get into the meat of the content, the thing that strikes me these days as I'm stuck at home is that there's going to be a new normal, and obviously we're going to come out of this situation. Lots of smart people around the globe are, especially all the biotech firms are racing to find a cure, and we will find a cure, and there will be a vaccine. I think the big unknowns is how long that's going to take and how much damage to the economy is going to be done in the meantime. But at some point, we're going to come out of this mess, and there will be a semblance of return to normality, whatever that means. And at this point, but there will be a new normal. Like, for example, are young people necessarily going to want to hang out in a crowded nightclub anymore that gets a little sweaty, close proximity, things like that? People might not want to return to sporting events. People might not necessarily flock back to restaurants, let's say, or bars, right? So there's quite a bit of industries out there that are going to need to analyze what their new customer base is, or do they have a product at all, or do they need a new business model? And the role of digital marketing as we discover this new normal is going to be so vitally important because digital marketing, as one of the things about digital marketing is that it's rapid reaction, right? For example, as we'll see in the next slide, one of the big pillars is social media. And with social media, you can theoretically create profiles in the morning and be acquiring customers in the afternoon. And that's one of the beautiful things about digital marketing is it allows for that quick reaction. And so as we come out of this COVID-19 situation, whenever that might start to happen, digital marketing is going to be one of the primary conduits of reaching people to to hopefully recover your business or your brand and discover what that new normal is accordingly. So I would suggest to all of you, whether you're in private business or whether you're in government, that you've got to actually keep an eye on that, the developing situation, let's say, because one of the obviously the big thing that COVID-19 has done is it's thrown everything out of whack, and nobody knows what the new normal is. We need to discover that, and we need to actually put that into our business models and then adjust our marketing mix accordingly. So I'm just going to briefly go over the big 5 pillars again. I did this on Tuesday for those of us, those of you who were actually with us on Tuesday. I won't spend as much time on it as I did before, but the big 5 pillars of digital marketing, excuse me, bad time to have a normal Canadian cough, eh? Anyway, the big 5 pillars of digital marketing are web, search, social, blast, and mobile, right? Web is, of course, always going to be the prime, the biggest element of all, and that's because Google can actually see a website. So to rank on search, you have to have a website. There's just no two ways about it. And search, of course, is the science of ranking higher on Google for whatever keyword it is that you're trying to rank for. Social media, as I mentioned, the contrast between search and social is that, the short explanation, of course, is that with search, if you want to rank on search accordingly, you've got to actually spend some time and energy. You just can't do it overnight for a variety of reasons. Whereas with social media, you can create your profiles in the morning and be acquiring customers during the evening, let's say. Blast is of course important, but Blast is something that's a function of web search and social. It kind of relies on the big 3 to actually supply the content for Blast, which is, of course, the cultivation of your mailing list, your subscriber list. And that's a great way of, combining web search and social to actually, acquire those emails or those cell phone numbers accordingly, let's say. And then last but certainly not least is mobile. And you might think to yourself, why isn't mobile in the same section as web? Like, why aren't these the big 4 pillars? Well, with mobile apps these days, they've over the last, they've been around since the middle of last decade, of course, when Apple first released the iPhone. But really, they've come on to their own in the last few years, to the point where last Black Friday shopping season in the States of 2019, the Black Friday season did over $2 billion on native app mobile e-commerce. So you can see that mobile needs to be considered all on its own in order to develop a proper strategy. ASO now is a science, similar to SEO, right? ASO stands for App Store Optimization. And especially if you're in the mobile gaming industry, the ASO actually can make or break the life of your game, right? If you're running a Happy Birds clone, let's say, which is one of the biggest games a few years back, and there's 50 other Happy Birds clones out there, if yours is the first one that shows up when somebody actually looks for a Happy Bird game, on the App Store or Google Play, if yours is the first one coming up, that's the one that's going to get downloaded. If yours is like the 30th that comes up, you are not getting downloaded unless it's your grandma looking to be all proud of you. So yeah, so mobile and ASO is something. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to actually adjust this so that my slides are kept current. All right, so there's your big 5 pillars again, okay? Now, before I get into persona matching, which is going to occupy quite a bit of our time today, the persona match is something that can be best exemplified with paid ads. And this is pretty much the reason why Facebook has risen to the point where it is actually in today's environment. But let's actually go over paid ads first, so we have a little bit of a background. before we start talking about persona matching, okay? So with paid ads, I'm going to save you a lot of time right now. And even though there's a lot of paid ad or paid digital ad products out there, there's only 3 of them that actually work. So if you're going to ask me things like, do Twitter ads work, or do YouTube banner ads work? I'm just going to say no. I mean, some of them might work in certain cases and things like that, but really the big 3, the holy trinity of paid ads out there right now in the digital world are Google, Facebook, and retargeting. And I include Instagram in the Facebook category for reasons I'll explain in a bit, okay? So Google is pretty automatic, right? We all know that to do a Google ads, well, first of all, if you're doing a Google search these days, you'll know that usually the first 4 entries after you make that search, when the SERPs come up, the search engine results placements, the first 4 entries are paid ads, right? So it's not the organic stuff that comes up first, it's the paid ads. And therefore, if you want to leapfrog your competition, or if you are in a little bit of a jam, time sensitive, let's say, then definitely a Google ad is going to work. And with respect to Facebook, the reason why Facebook paid ads work so well is because of the fact that the way Facebook is structured, so many people qualify themselves as being interested in goods or services by all the information that Facebook allows you to enter, right? I mean, people are always liking stuff on Facebook, left, right, and center. And the act of liking these things on Facebook actually allows Facebook to categorize you as a user, which is kind of why the Russians use Facebook so much for election interference, because it's easy to actually see, who's a diehard Republican or who's a diehard Democrat, let's say. And that's one of the things that they did through the Cambridge Analytica scandal was actually, it wasn't really a hack, it was just more of a really advanced qualification system for the ultimate persona match ever. Anyway, the third one is called retargeting. I'll tell you my experience in retargeting so that you can, know exactly what it is. Retargeting, okay, so many years ago, I was shopping on Zappos.com. I didn't buy anything that day, but I shopped around. I looked at a few products. I spent, a little bit of time on one particular product. And then when I didn't buy anything, so I left the site. And then when I started going all over Google and Facebook, I would see the ads for Zappos, and in particular, the ads for the product that I spent the most time on all the time, right? So I'd go to Facebook and I'd see the ad. I'd go to Google and I'd see the ad, right? Those paid ads, the first 4 that show up in any Google SERP, they actually get trumped by, sorry, I hate to use that word, but they actually get trumped by the retargeting ad, right? And it won't be necessarily just 4 paid ads at the top of the SERP. It'll actually be, the first one or the second one or whatever will be retargeting ads if those retargeting ads are there for that user. And so anyway, I was very intrigued with this, and I learned what happens. And essentially what happens is if you visit a website that is set up for retargeting, there's a cookie that website actually drops on your computer. And that cookie, as long as it's on your computer, will tell Facebook and Google before they serve you a regular ad to actually serve them a retargeted ad. Now, I'm going to give you a little bit of a tip. If you want to actually get rid of those cookies, then install a program called CCleaner, just as it's spelled here on this slide. Personally, I don't like Big Brother up in my business, and I like to make sure that I keep my computer clean. Some of these cookies from some of these websites can actually be really, really malicious. So, to have malware on your computer, you don't even have to necessarily click on a bad link in an email that gets sent to you anymore. You can just visit a website and a cookie will get dropped on there, and some of the times it's actually malware. So you have to be careful about that. And if you like to keep a clean computer as much as I do, then CCleaner is definitely a tool that you should use. It's free. It's been around for a long, long time. It's trusted in the industry. And, just feel free to check it out for yourself. The personal version will do for you, but if you are industry-wide, you might want to consider Pro. And last but not least, with respect to CCleaner, you can actually, well, verify that it's the right site. The site, here, I'll type it for you. That's the name of the actual company that makes CCleaner. So just make sure you're on the Paraform website, okay? All right, so so now that we've seen, just briefly, the paid ads that actually work, or the paid ad formats that actually work, let's go to something called persona matching, okay? So persona matching, as defined theoretically, is identifying a user based on his or her actions online that indicate that that user is a likely buyer of a good or a service. Now that can mean many, many, many things, all right? I said already before that subscribing to an email list pretty much validates that you're a persona match for whatever that good or service is, right? That product or service, because you were so interested in it that you actually signed up for the email list and became a subscriber, right? That's a pretty surefire way of actually validating that you're a good persona match, all right? There are other ways as well, and that's what we'll talk about here, okay? So I'm going to talk about Ramee.ca, and if you want to go there and take a look, you'll see that it's a site that sells gelatinous shave bars for women. And this gelatinous shave bar is supposed to replace shaving cream for a woman's shave, and apparently it's closer. I don't know, I haven't tried it myself. Anyway, so Nick May, who's the owner of Ramee, he's a former chemistry student at Carleton University here in Ottawa, and he did this shave bar as his thesis project. So after his first year where he was dealing with retailers to sell his bar, he realized that he was going to just take this bar and sell it digital marketing wise to direct to customer, D2C, let's say. And what ended up happening, because he wasn't a true blue organic digital marketer like myself, he actually went straight to paid ads. And his vehicle of choice was Facebook. So what ended up happening to him was his first, say, 20 or 25 iterations were not very good at all. He was not generating the sales that he was hoping to get. Fortunately, Nick's a smart guy, so he was doing, just small campaign budgets on this first 20 to 25 campaigns. Finally, he arrived at his holy grail formula, okay? He started out with the big three criteria, which of course are age, gender, and location. That's always the big three starting points. And then he attached a fourth criteria called relationship status on Facebook. And his reasoning was that if a woman had indicated on Facebook that they were in a relationship, then Nick was surmising that that user was more likely to care about personal hygiene. All right, so that was the logic he made, and that's what he was looking for. He was looking for people that were highly disposed to actually wanting to buy a shave bar, okay? So let's think about this for a second. If you're just doing the big three of age, gender, location, right? Nick's targeting was 25 to 45 female living in Canada. So on a Facebook ad, if you just choose those three criteria, you're talking about basically every female in the country between 25 to 45. And if you don't have the budget to reach all of those people, right, then with such a massive audience, your budget is going to get spent really, really quickly. And you could be reaching people who aren't even interested in a female shave bar, right? You could be reaching, I don't know, construction ladies who don't care about that kind of thing. Not every product and not every delivery mechanism is always going to be a perfect persona match. Like, for example, if you're watching football, NFL football on a Sunday afternoon, if you buy a commercial on NFL football games, then yeah, you're obviously going after men. A lot of beer commercials, a lot of car commercials, et cetera, et cetera. But there's going to be spillover, right? there's going to be females watching it. There's going to be non-traditional men watching football. And so if you buy a TV commercial, you're, on an NFL game, you're actually reaching all of those different kinds of people, right? There's spillover. And are they necessarily going to want your product? So on digital, right, as we've seen with Nick May's, arrival at his 4 criteria that has expanded his business greatly, the potential on digital of refining your persona match is so much, well, let's put it this way. You can refine your persona match to such a degree that you're only reaching the people that are interested in what you have to sell. So if I'm the Russians, right, I refine my targeting match so that I'm only reaching Republicans or Democrats, because apparently they stir things up on both sides. If I'm Nick May, I'm reaching people, females, that care about personal hygiene. So therefore, if they want to try something new, to shave their legs, then they're more likely to buy a Ramey shave bar. Okay. If I'm, any product whatsoever, I can use Facebook, Twitter, Instagram to actually, refine my matching so precisely that my revenues are going to increase accordingly. Right. And that's really what you're looking for when you start analyzing persona match. Okay. I'll let you do some exercises on your own with respect to persona matching, but when you really dive into it, you can see that there's always ways that you can, that you can implement that will actually help you refine your audience. And I guarantee you, if you refine your audience as much as you can, your sales results will go up. Or in the case of government, your exposure results will go up. Okay. All right. So these last 4 categories here on persona matching deal with something called influencer marketing. All right. Now, influencer marketing is something that kind of came up about 5 years ago. It wasn't really being done before, but what happened about 5-6 years ago is that Facebook started doing something called throttling. All right. Now, everybody these days knows that if you make a post on a business page, you can pay to have that post boosted, right? A promoted post, if you will. Back in the day, though, the organic reach of a post was such that you didn't have to pay to boost your post. Anybody who was following you or friended you could actually see that post if you made a post, if they were happening to looking at their newsfeed at the same time, let's say. So why did Facebook implement throttling? Well, they came out with boosted post product, and so therefore they had to throttle in order to get people to pay to increase the reach of their post. And for those of us who have been organic marketing on Facebook for a long time, we were all pretty upset about that. In fact, if you Google Mark Cuban Facebook, you will actually see some articles about him complaining about this back in the day because he owns the Dallas Mavericks. So what happened after that is smart marketers started to actually deal with influencers, right? Because of the fact that with throttling, it made it harder for a responsible brand to actually build an organic following. But marketers, especially the type that you get off Madison Avenue, they are not going to rest. They are going to keep pushing the envelope until they find the reach that they need, right? So influencers, that's why they came about. And the influencer match is actually really, really key. So look at Kylie Jenner. She gets paid about $1 million per post. I know, shocking, right? $1 million per post. But she's got what she's got. Well, first of all, what she's got like 140 million followers on Instagram, and then various other millions on different social networks. So with Kylie though, right? She's known for living this, B-level reality TV life. Clearly, when she turned 18, she had a ton of plastic surgery. She's always embracing cosmetic products the same way her older sister Kim Kardashian did when she was actually quite active. And so therefore, she's got the followers that actually appreciate the kind of products that she's known for. So these lip kits or these butt enhancement kits or various other things that are going in this category, cosmetics, whatever. Kylie Jenner is a perfect influencer that. And it's been proven that the $1 million a post that you have to pay her actually turns out into $6 to $10 million in revenue, because she's such a great persona match for the type of products that get pitched to her in order to, seek her approval to actually promote them. Duck Dynasty, the lads on that show, it's almost the same thing except just a different category. So if you've got some product that you're, trying to sell to the survivalist crowd, like I don't know, tactical bars that actually have 10,000 calories in case you get lost in the woods, or compound bow and arrow if you're going to go hunting like that, or camp gear like tents, sleeping bags, etc., etc. Duck Dynasty and those guys are probably your best influencer, right? If you have a comic book, then Kevin Smith of New Jersey. If anybody's ever seen those Jay and Silent Bob movies, well, he's Silent Bob, but most people don't know he's actually quite a prominent director behind the scenes. Kevin Smith is also known for being one of the biggest comic book fans around. So if you've got a new comic book, you get Kevin Smith to influence for you, and away you go. Dan Blazarian, if you're a nightclub person, and if you're running a nightclub, let's say, and you want to increase your attendance, Dan Blazarian lives that kind of nightclub style of life. So for one of the first times I've seen an influencer being used very well was a club called the Docks in Toronto, and they brought in Dan Blazarian, paid him his $50,000, and he packed the place with 6,000 people that day. Of course, if you're trying to reach the home economics, mommy kind of crowd, then certainly Martha Stewart would actually be quite productive for you to engage as an influencer. And just as you validated yourself by signing up for an email list like I was talking about before, the reason why these influencers are such a great persona match is because of the fact that the act of the user following, say, for example, a Kylie Jenner, right? That user has validated themselves as being interested in Kylie Jenner's life. That's why the follow took place in the first place. So therefore, you can say to yourself safely, okay, Kylie Jenner is, contains 140 million odd followers that I would like to have exposed to my product. So that's why that happens, okay? Same thing with all the rest of the influencers out there, all right? That kind of influencer persona match is why influencer marketing is now the #1 subset of social media marketing out there, okay? So actually, one of the things that I actually proposed recently was an influencer marketing campaign to the federal government because of all these youth that are still going on spring break during coronavirus times. And anyway, I got shot down. Apparently, no one can get through it to anybody these days. So that didn't go anywhere. But you can see why influencer marketing is a rapid response kind of thing, especially if the right persona match. If we would have been able to send out influencer posts that basically had certain groups of youth recommending to other youth that they actually stay home and obey the recommendations, then away we go. All right, so when it comes to digital marketing strategy, you have to remember that digital marketing's gains over the last, say, 10 years, let's say, ever since Facebook started to come up strong, that have come at the expense of TV, radio, print, out of home, and experiential. Okay, so it's worth knowing that these non-digital categories have actually embraced digital marketing, and what's happening now in those industries is that a certain kind of deal called the 360 deal is actually being offered out there. So one of the biggest embracers of the 360 deal is radio. So radio used to, and anyone who's ever dealt with a radio station knows how arrogant they are. But obviously they've had to eat some humble pie over the years. And what they do now is they say, okay, if you buy a block of commercials, we will also send out an influencer type post on our Instagram. We will also make a Facebook post for you. We will also include you in our email blast, right? We'll also put placement for you on our website, things like that. That's what they call a 360 deal these days. It's not just the commercial, but it's every digital asset that the radio station has, or the TV station has, or the newspaper has. Postmedia is doing this all over the place. And so therefore, it's really, really important to understand that when you're doing your strategies, you have to remember that even if you think that you need some of these old school type of formats in your marketing mix, you are going to be able to take advantage of other people's digital as well as part of your strategy session. Another way of integrating some of these old school categories is actually using a TV commercial or a radio commercial or a newspaper ad, let's say, for what they call drive to digital. And drive to digital can come in many different ways. The point is that if you have a commercial, let's say on radio, one of my friends was actually involved. I don't know if anybody remembers the Huggy, I think it's called, that late night TV commercial that was selling that blanket that had a hole in the middle for your head and arms and things like that. I can't remember what it's called, but anyway, one of my friends was actually involved in selling that. And so one of the things that they did to actually achieve viral spread over the internet was there was a price decrease if you tweeted about it, or if you made some sort of a digital promotional post about a Snuggie, I think, yeah, about the Snuggie, let's say. And so there's those kind of integrations that you can do as well, like a discount for share, or a discount for post, let's say. Or for example, having a TV commercial saying, find out about our latest deal on our Facebook page, just to drive people to that Facebook page, and then hoping that they'll actually follow you while they're there. Okay. So, so those are integrations, and obviously the integrations is, there's a lot of strategy in there, and that's one of the reasons why it's really great to take the full day course at Eloquo, because I'm just going over a couple of possibilities here, but during the full day course, we get into it extensively. Okay, so we talked about influencers before, about how they're the ultimate persona match. If you decide that you're going to add influencers into your campaign strategy, you have to make the distinction between macro and micro, okay? So actually, I'm going to get rid of this one here because we already talked about that. Macro influencers are your Kylie Jenners, okay? Micro influencers, for anybody that's actually seen the movie Mean Girls, micro influencers are your Regina Georges. So I'm going to write that down too. Often there are certain brands that just don't need the wide angle approach that a Kylie Jenner offers. She's got a global audience. She's pulling from every country in the world that has teenage girls, to be honest with you. But there are times when micro influencers are vastly more effective and vastly more powerful for both small, medium, or for all of small, medium, and even large business. Okay, so to understand why that is, think of, well, first of all, for those people who did not see Mean Girls, Regina George is your prototypical most popular girl in school, right? She's the kind of girl where every guy wants to date her and every girl wants to be her, and that's of course what you'll see if you watch the movie Mean Girls. Excuse me. So one of the things that we did in prom season of 2019 was we identified 83 schools in and around the Ottawa-Gatineau area, and we said to ourselves, okay, advertising for prom is a difficult proposition at best. How are we going to get this done? We can't just recruit, like the Regina George, say, for example, at Glebe Collegiate, because that's only one school. And the Regina George model is that she's very popular, but only at her school. Small radius, tremendous power, small radius. So what we did for this prom boutique that'll remain unnamed is we actually put together a list of schools that came to 83, and we recruited the Regina George from every one of those schools, right? We got them to post in sync in a coordinated influencer type campaign on Instagram. And the effects of this campaign were so great that the sales of this prom dress store actually tripled year over year from their 2018 season, right? The effect of a local influencer for a local boutique was actually that much more than say any national or international influencer could have ever delivered. Another example, which we're proposing at this point, is say a theme park like Canada's Wonderland or Ottawa's Calypso Water Park, let's say. You know, they're not a big international. Well, I mean, obviously Wonderland's pulling from all over the country and even into the northeastern United States. But Calypso Water Park is pretty much Ottawa driven. And the aspect of Calypso is that they don't want a Kylie Jenner if they're going to throw out advertising dollars for influencer marketers. They do want the Regina Georges. In fact, they might even want to skew down and actually get the most popular girl in middle school because that's their primary demographic, you see. So, all right, so I hope you've learned something about persona matching and how important it is to the actual selection process when you start to strategize what tools you're going to use, what platforms you're going to use, okay? You're going to see in a second why I've spent so much time on persona matching today. Hold on. All right, so here's a little bit of Jordan secret sauce. Just give me a second to shrink this down a little bit so it's visible. This is what I call a channel tree, all right? And you'll see all kinds of different platforms, all this channel tree, and you'll see why in a second, why I actually go through this process, okay? Okay, so you've identified your persona, your buyer persona, let's say. Who's gonna buy your product, right? Now you have to identify how you're gonna reach those people, and does the tool or does the platform in question have that same persona as users on their website, okay? So let's just go through a few of these and you'll actually see what I mean. So let's start with social right here, all right? Facebook, okay, so we also need to choose a product. All right, let's stick with prom dresses. Okay, Facebook is a network that we would want to use for prom dresses because even though Facebook is split up all over the place, there's still lots of teenagers that are on Facebook. Even if they're only there to talk to mom and dad, they're still going to see our advertising on prom dresses through Facebook. Twitter, not so much. Twitter's the domain of journalists, of celebrities, of politicians, of newspapers. It's just not something that teenagers really actively engage with these days, except, of course, if you're in certain pockets in the United States. In minority communities in the USA, Twitter is actually used by the teenage demographic, but not so much here, and we'll focus on Canada. Instagram, absolutely for teenagers, for youth, for prom dress buyers. YouTube, sort of, but not like you might think. It's more along the lines of content marketing, right? You need to make your promo video for your store, so you put it on YouTube so that you can embed the YouTube link into your website, or embed it into a Facebook post, or embed it into an Instagram post, or a Twitter post, for example, okay? Snapchat, absolutely for teenagers. TikTok, of course. TikTok is exploding in the teenage universe right now. In fact, this is one of those things I was talking about before where you need to keep your eye open to what's next, to what's happening with respect to COVID-19. TikTok is the same way. Marketers everywhere are trying to figure out how to use TikTok effectively to actually drive business into their locations or their website. And it's tough. No one's really cracked it yet because, excuse me, what TikTok is basically just a bunch of kids dancing around and overlapping onto some music. So how exactly is a responsible brand supposed to change that format or tweak that format into something that actually brings customers into a store, right? So this is what I was saying before, like keep your eyes open, keep analyzing, right? Because there's new tools coming up all the time, every day, okay? So, and then LinkedIn, of course, no, not really, because LinkedIn is the domain of professionals, and we're not going to have too much of a teenage presence on LinkedIn. Traditionally, it's not till college when a person actually starts creating their first LinkedIn profile. Okay. Anyway, as you can see, all the way around this channel tree, there are different categories, and then I've got a sampling of platforms within that category. Each of these things has to be analyzed every single time you create a new brand, right? This is why it's called template. I start here and I move around and I say, is this channel going to be effective in reaching my buyer persona for the good or product in question, or the product or service in question, right? Inbound is just another fancy name for SEO. Affiliate marketing sometimes can actually be really great, especially if you're doing e-commerce. If you're doing e-commerce, there are tons of affiliates around the world that will simply sell for you. You just got to give them a coupon code and they will sell for you, and it's all automatic. You just have a coupon code system in there and you can see who deserves what at the end of the day. Press and media, well, yeah, that's the holy grail. Not only because a lot of people read press, like the big press and the big media, let's say, like the website for the Ottawa Citizen, for example, but getting an article into a major newspaper website will boost your SEO like crazy. Google pays special attention to the websites of all, respectable newspapers or respectable TV stations or radio stations. And if something about your business ends up on the blog of one of those kinds of sites, Google's going to see it way faster than if you blogged it on your own site. Internal, live chat. Let me show you, for example, I will show you my own website. There's my live chat, excuse me. There's my live chat icon. And you can see that it's actually tied to my Facebook page. So if somebody messages me here, it actually goes to the inbox of the Digiterra Facebook business page, right? That's a lead generator. So I want to use that tool. So for example, let's say, and this is where we start getting into integrated strategies. So for example, let's say I make a post on Facebook, and it's got something where the information, let's say, is on my website that the prom dress buyer in question needs to find. So that female goes to my website and she live chats me, right? Well, then I have her in my live chat and I can actually talk to her and qualify her as a lead ASAP, let's say. All right, repeat customers. If you're running e-commerce, right, then keeping a repeat customer list and treating them as a separate category, because their persona match is that they've actually bought something from you before in the past. So they qualify themselves as being a good persona match because they've actually purchased something. Abandoned shopping carts. That's a huge one in the e-commerce industry, right? Abandoned shopping cart, it is as it sounds. You have your user go through the entire checkout process for a product in question, and then fail to click on the buy button or the last button, the submit button, whatever. So that abandoned shopping cart is just sitting there in your account, and so the smart e-commerce marketers will see that as, again, one of the ultimate persona matches, and they'll say, well, that person was interested in that product before because they went through almost the entire checkout process, then they abandoned it. So why don't we do something smart, like send that user a $10 or 10% gift card or something like that, or a discount, let's say, and let them take that 10% on the abandoned shopping cart. In fact, some of the most savviest e-commerce shoppers out there purposely will fill out the whole shopping cart, the checkout process, everything like that, and then on purpose abandon the last step, because they know that they're going to get a discount coupon sent their way in the email, and then they'll just buy it at a cheaper price, right? So moving around the chart, there's also direct with grassroots and sales calls. Paid digital, we went over that already. Google, Facebook, retargeting. Blast back in the middle, email, SMS, and WhatsApp. And then lead generation traps. And I'll give you an example of what a good lead generation trap is. The mortgage calculator. So Anybody who's bought a house in the last 10, 15 years will probably have gone online and filled out a mortgage calculator. And, you know, these tools are all free. So you're probably saying to yourselves, oh, what nice people. They're offering this tool for free. It's not necessarily so nice. What they do is they say, okay, stick your email in here and we will send you your detailed report. And you think, oh, wow, great, a report's going to come to me. That's so handy. Thank you. But you've dropped your email into the lead generation trap. Next thing you know, over the next 60 days, you start getting blown up by everybody, mortgage brokers, real estate agents, insurance agents and brokers, all the people that are connected to the housing industry, because they figure that because you have actually filled out the form on a mortgage calculator, that you're likely to buy a house. In other words, you're a persona match for that entire industry. Anyways, this chart is going to be in the recorded file of this course today, and which I believe that the lads at Eloquo are going to disseminate to everybody. So you'll have that, okay? And if not, then one of the best things to do is email Jody at support@eloquo.ca. So the email address, and it's not like trying to, you know, email Revenue Canada or anything like that. People actually answer this email address. It's support@eloquo.ca. Okay. So I guess I'm over a little early. It's 11:52. I'm willing to take any questions that any of you who are listening online now might have. Specific, could be a general question. It could be specific to your brand. It doesn't necessarily have to be on the items that I've discussed today. But you know, if you've got a question, bring it on. Give it to me. I think you have to turn on your microphone first, or there might be a, oh, here we go. There's a chat window as well. If you fool around with your whatever online interface you have, you can actually type in a question and type it into chat. So if you have any questions, please by all means actually type it into the chat window and I'll be happy to answer them. Anybody? Going once? Going twice? Okay, well, if there's no questions, then I guess we'll call it a day. Thank you so much for being with us this morning and taking a quick peek at the Building a Digital Marketing Strategy course. If you're interested in a more in-depth education on building a digital marketing strategy, please contact the guys at Eloquo. They will sign you up for the full day course, where it's basically along the same lines as what I've just discussed, except a more of an in-depth discussion and analysis and, you know, case studies and things like that. You know, obviously with an hour here today, we didn't really have enough time to, you know, to get into the really nitty-gritty stuff. But that's one of the things that we actually do with the Eloquo day-long courses is get into the real meat of this stuff, and, you know, examples and theory and everything like that. They're really great courses, and I do recommend that if you think you do need an upgrade on your digital marketing skills, then these courses are definitely something that you should consider. Thank you so much for being here today, and we hope to see you soon.